One brand sells bags that appreciate after purchase. Another ends up at TJ Maxx. Yet both call themselves luxury. The global luxury handbag market is worth nearly $30 billion, and a large portion of it goes to brands that don't deliver real value. Today, we break it down with no bias or branding, just which luxury bag brands are actually worth your money and which ones aren't. 7 worth it, 5 overrated. We're starting with the brand that invented the it bag era. Fendi was founded in Rome in 1925, 100 years of Italian leather craft. But the bag that made Fendi a household name came much later, in 1997, when Silvia Venturini Fendi launched a small, flat under-the-arm bag named after the French bread it resembled. The baguette. That bag triggered a collector obsession that defined the 2000s and never really stopped. It came back in a massive way after And Just Like That, and the resale market reacted immediately. The Fendi baguette averages around $1,500 on the secondary market, with an average of 54 days to sell. In luxury resale terms, that's a fast turnover. Here's the caveat. Not every Fendi bag earns a spot on this list. The Peekaboo at its highest price tiers, $4,500 to $12,000, is a genuinely bad value. Heavy, expensive, and resale numbers often fall to well below half of retail. More on that in the not worth it section. Stick with the baguette. It's a cultural icon that earns its price. With a craftsperson's sewn saddle stitch technique you can actually see on the bag. The craftsmanship is visible, tactile, and real. And that's exactly what separates a bag worth buying from one that just looks good in a campaign. Loewe, pronounced Loewe, and fashion people will absolutely clock you on that. Loewe has been making leather goods in Spain since 1846. For most of that time, they were a brand insiders whispered about while the general public had no idea they existed. Then, Jonathan Anderson took over as creative director, and the White Lotus put Loewe pieces on every character who was supposed to look impossibly cool. The puzzle bag is the centerpiece. Its construction is one of the most technically difficult things happening in luxury leather goods right now. A single piece of leather folded and cut into geometric panels that interlock without glue or visible exterior stitching. Flatten it out and it collapses into a rectangle. Fill it and it holds a perfect silhouette. Resale data backs the hype. The puzzle retains over 90% of its retail value, putting it in the same investment tier as bags that cost twice as much. Who What Wear called it, 10 years in, still worth it. And if you want an entry point into serious craft-first luxury, Loewe is still early enough in its American moment that you're ahead of the curve. Not for long. Here's a stat that should stop you in your tracks. The Goyard St. Louis tote retails at $1,890. The Louis Vuitton Neverfull costs $2,130. Goyard is cheaper, and a fraction as common. Why? Because Goyard does not sell online, anywhere in the world. No app, no e-commerce, no influencer gifting. If you want a Goyard in America, you go to one of their boutiques and pay full price. No sales, no discounts, no outlet. The St. Louis and Anjou totes retain 70 to 90% of their retail value. The Plume clutch saw a 21% year-over-year increase in value retention, landing at 139% of retail. Certain Goyard pieces are worth more than what you paid for them on the secondary market. The Goyardine canvas dates to 1892, a coated chevron textile that's tougher and more water-resistant than LV's monogram canvas, made the same way for over a century. You can have it customized with stripes or initials in store, making every bag technically unique. This is the brand that rewards doing your homework. Almost nobody outside of fashion knows what it is. The people who do know exactly what it means. And that gap in recognition is precisely what makes it valuable. Prada is the engineer of the luxury bag world, and I mean that as a genuine compliment. The brand built its reputation on a paradox, making luxury bags out of nylon, not leather, nylon, and making everyone want them anyway. The Re-Edition 2005 is durable, water-resistant, lightweight, and carries the Prada Triangle logo without any of the pretension of a cowhide price tag. It starts around $1,350, a real entry point to a real Italian luxury house. Then there's the Galleria, and this is where Prada's engineering background shows up. The leather is Saffiano, calfskin hot-pressed with a crosshatch stamp and coated in wax. The result is scratch-resistant, waterproof, and holds its shape over years of use. No other brand does this at this quality level, at this price point. The Galleria has been in continuous production since 2007, nearly 2 decades without a single year where it felt dated. One insider tip: always buy retail. Outlet Prada has documented quality differences: fabric weight, lining, hardware finish. Full-price retail purchase Prada bags are a different product from what ends up at the outlet. That's your insider tip for free. Celine is the brand the French fashion industry considers the purest expression of Parisian luxury. And most Americans are still sleeping on it. It sits in a genuinely powerful position. Recognizable enough to signal taste, minimal enough to never look trendy. Priced below Hermes and Chanel while delivering construction quality that competes directly with both. Every bag is calfskin or grained leather, lined in suede, with clean hardware and zero excess. There is no logo chasing here, just very good design, made well at a price that still makes sense. The Triomphe has become cultural shorthand for quiet luxury. The classic box bag has been in production for decades without ever looking old. That's the definition of timeless. Here's the collector angle. Michael Ryder just took over as creative director for Spring/Summer 2026. New creative direction at a heritage house almost always precedes a resale value spike as collectors rush to lock in pieces from the transition era. This has happened at Bottega, at Loewe, at Celine itself under Hedi Slimane. If you've been on the fence about Celine, now is probably the smartest time to buy. Entry starts around $1,350. For genuine French luxury at that price, it's one of the best quality to price ratios in the entire market. Zero logo, zero branding. 109% resale value on the Arco Todi. Let that land for a second. Bottega Veneta is the brand fashion insiders have quietly revered for years, while the general public slowly caught up. Its signature intrecciato woven leather is entirely handmade in Italy. Not a machine, not a pattern stamped onto fabric. Individual leather. Strips, hand-woven by craftspeople who spend years mastering the technique before touching a bag for sale. The result is a bag that genuinely improves with age. The leather softens, develops a patina, becomes more personal the longer you carry it. The resale numbers tell the story. The Arco Totit at 109% of retail, the Jodi at 90%, the cassette chain crossbody at 87%. The Andiamo Toti was named a 2025 resale favorite for its understated luxury and versatility. Here's what makes Bottega's no-logo philosophy so powerful right now. You cannot counterfeit what isn't there. Louis Vuitton's monogram is one of the most faked images in the world. Bottega has no monogram. You either know how to weave intrecciato, which takes years, or you don't. The craft is the authentication. This one isn't even close. Hermes is the only luxury house that has genuinely earned every dollar it charges, and the data proves it year after year in every market condition. The Birkin and the Kelly retain 100 to 250% of their retail value. They consistently outperform stocks. They outperform gold. The Birkin is one of the few fashion objects that financial analysts will discuss with a straight face as a legitimate investment vehicle. What separates Hermes from every brand that tries to imitate its positioning? The scarcity is real, and the craft is real. Every Birkin is handmade by a single artisan from start to finish. One person, one bag, up to 48 hours of work. Hermes craftspeople undergo years of training before they're allowed to touch a bag for sale. The brand explicitly chooses not to scale production to meet demand because they understand that scarcity is the product. The moment you mass-produce a Birkin, it stops being a Birkin. In 2025, the Birkin 25 in Togo leather went from $12,100 to $12,700, a 6.4% increase. Compare that to Chanel, which raised prices 94% between 2019 and 2025. Hermes raises prices the way a Bottega brand with genuine confidence does. Steadily, conservatively, sustainably, entry is possible. The Eva line starts around $3,200. The Constance is accessible. You don't need a Birkin on day one. But when you're ready, if you can get on the waitlist, if you can build the relationship with a boutique, you are buying the single most financially defensible luxury object in the fashion market. In 2025, Hermes was the highest riser in the Kantar brand's global top 100. The market agrees. Michael Kors is not a luxury brand. It is an accessible luxury brand, which sounds like the best of both worlds, but delivers neither. The brand expanded aggressively into outlet malls and department stores, flooding the market with merchandise discounted as much as 60%. When a luxury brand is chronically on sale, the original price becomes a fiction. Capri Holdings reported significant losses in 2024 to 2025. Michael Kors himself acknowledged at New York Fashion Week 2024 that the brand needs to essentially relaunch from scratch. Resale value is negligible. Whatever you pay, you get a fraction back. If you're in the accessible luxury budget and want an American heritage brand that actually earns it, buy Coach. Coach has genuinely repositioned itself over the last several years. The leather quality to price ratio is excellent, and the Tabby and Rogue bags are receiving real critical praise. Coach is what Michael Kors used to want to be. The bags are genuinely beautiful. The value proposition is genuinely terrible. Givenchy occupies the most frustrating middle ground in luxury. Architectural silhouettes, interesting hardware, and construction quality that does not justify retail prices. The community is blunt, great design, materials that don't match the cost. Givenchy's Trustpilot score sits at 1.8 out of 5. That's not a rounding error, that's a verdict. Without a cultural anchor bag, no equivalent of the Birkin, the classic flap, the puzzle, Givenchy has nothing to drive long-term resale demand. If you love the aesthetic, buy it secondhand at 50 to 60% off retail, never at full price. Valentino is a trend brand that has spent the last decade trying to convince you it's a classic. The data disagrees. The rock stud launched in 2010 and peaked around 2015. It's been modernized repeatedly since, but it remains fundamentally a trend piece on life support. The medium rock stud spike was already reselling for around $1,700 against a $2,900 retail price years ago. That's a 41% value loss, and the trajectory hasn't improved. The V logo bag is cleaner, quieter, but remove the logo and it's an unremarkable bag at a very high price. For $1,500 to $3,000, you're paying almost entirely for studs or a letter. Neither of those is a recipe for long-term value, and the resale market reflects that clearly. We already gave Fendi credit for the baguette, but the peekaboo at its highest price tiers, $4,500 to $12,000, is one of the worst value propositions in luxury bags. The bag is architecturally stunning. It is also genuinely heavy, genuinely uncomfortable to carry regularly, and its resale prices routinely fall to well below half of retail. At $12,000, you are in early Hermes territory, and there is no comparison between what those two brands deliver at that price point. With new creative direction in flux, there's no clear revival strategy anchoring the peekaboo's future value either. High prices, low resale, heavy bag. Use the Fendi budget on a baguette instead. This one is uncomfortable because Chanel's legacy is real. The classic flap is one of the most recognizable objects in fashion history, but Chanel has priced itself out of its own value proposition. The classic flap increased 94% in price between 2019 and 2025, crossing $11,000 for the medium size. Quality complaints from longtime owners are well documented. Leather thickness, stitching consistency, hardware durability, all declining in newer production runs. Cobblers who specialize in luxury bag repair report a notable increase in brand new Chanel bags arriving for intervention. Chanel's revenue declined in 2024 to 2025, and the brand paused major price hikes, a sign that even its core customer base is pushing back. Resale numbers still look reasonable on paper, 90 to 120% of retail, but that same capital put into Hermes, Goyard, or Bottega Veneta delivers better returns with far fewer quality complaints and far less anxiety about what you're actually getting. You are paying, at this point, almost entirely for the logo. And when a logo costs $11,000, it needs to be bulletproof. Chanel's isn't anymore. If you want a deeper breakdown on any of these brands, or you want me to cover the best bags within these brands by price tier, drop that in the comments.